Have you ever found yourself just reaching for your phone, but without really realizing why you even picked it up? Or maybe you've had that kind of unsettling feeling that your brain just isn't quite as sharp. Your focus maybe not as steadfast as it used to be. It's a pretty common experience in this hyper-connected world, isn't it? And it really begs a big question. Is technology diminishing our human intelligence, or, are we simply adapting? Today, we're taking a deep dive into some fascinating articles and research that explore exactly this. Our mission really is to unpack how our growing reliance on digital tools might be quietly reshaping our ability to concentrate, to remember, even to connect with each other in like truly meaningful ways. We've pulled together a blend of personal observations, some intriguing scientific studies, and yeah, some really insightful historical context for the material you've shared. It's going to be a captivating exploration, I think.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is how these different sources, they really highlight a critical tension we all live with. Technology offers this incredible convenience, right? An almost magical ease to our lives. But at what potential cost? What's the trade-off for our core human capabilities? So we're going to delve into a, hopefully, nuanced discussion today that goes beyond just the surface level, looking at the intricate ways our minds and lives are being reshaped, sometimes, without us even noticing.
Okay, to really grasp this dilemma, let's think back. Cast our minds back to 2014. The iPad had just hit the shelves. It was poised to transform how we interact with information, right? Yet, one of our sources shares this really striking anecdote about its architect, Steve Jobs himself. He actually admitted to an interviewer that his own children hadn't used the iPad. His words were, "We limit how much technology our kids use at home."
Hmm.
Just think about that for a moment. The visionary who put this digital world in our pockets was, well, exercising caution with his own family. It's surprising and I think an incredibly relatable starting point.
It really is.
And that sentiment, it stands in stark contrast to the world many of us grew up in, a world described in one article where tech's influence was much simpler. Imagine, like, the era of a simple house phone. Couldn't move beyond a small radius, just one ringtone, often that rotating dial. But far from isolating us, these phones actually fostered this wonderful sense of community spirit.
Right.
Neighbors who didn't have a phone, they'd pop over to make calls. And that led to casual tea, real chit-chat. We learned about each other's lives not through some, WhatsApp group, but through actual face-to-face interaction.
A different time.
Definitely. And knowledge. We didn't Google it.
Yeah.
We went to Encyclopedia Britannica, World Book, or, yeah, trips to the local library. That library was phenomenal. Even TV was limited. A couple of comedy serials, maybe a half-hour music program. Binging on Sunday morning, often frowned upon. Too much time on the idiot box, our parents would say.
It's a huge contrast. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources argue that while humanity has always adapted to tech disruption throughout history, this current phase feels different. It feels unique. The author of A Generation of Lost Minds explains that, previously, mankind evolved and adapted to new tech to enhance our natural abilities. But this time, the competition isn't human versus AI. It's now going to be a competition between humans based on how effectively they can utilize AI tools to get ahead.
Ah, okay.
So the core concern raised here is that while these tools offer invaluable productivity, this over-reliance might make us lose the really important incentive to keep growing our own human capabilities. A bit like how Google, for many, made acquiring knowledge feel almost redundant.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is it truly an either scenario? Or do our sources offer any pathways to, like, truly enhance our intelligence with AI rather than just operating it? Because it feels like we're approaching a point where our human intelligence might just atrophy if we're not careful.
Absolutely. The sources strongly suggest the risk lies in outsourcing too much, and that over time, this leads to a diminishing of our core cognitive strengths. It really raises an important question for all of us. Are we becoming great at operating AI, but maybe at the expense of our own human intelligence?
That distinction is crucial, and it leads us right to the first major impact our sources highlight, the erosion of our power of concentration. So when we talk about losing our focus, what exactly are the studies revealing?
Well, Professor Gloria Mark from the Department of Informatics at the University of California, she's done some fascinating research here. Her studies, they tracked IT workers and found attention spans shrinking drastically over time. Back in 2004, these workers switched their attention on average about every 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay.
By 2012, that dropped to just 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Wow.
And get this, by 2022, it was down to a mere 45 seconds.
45 seconds.
Yeah.
That's barely enough time to read a headline.
Exactly. The research emphasizes that the constant barrage of digital distractions, emails, social media alerts, notifications, just the sheer availability of content, it's actively eroding our ability to focus. It's gotten to the point where even traditional TV can seem, quote, uninteresting today compared to platforms like TikTok, which are just designed for highly engaging, short-form, rapid-fire content.
45 seconds. That's an incredibly short window.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how we ever managed to read a novel or even watch a full movie without checking our phones. But it's not just our focus that's taking a hit, is it? Our sources reveal that our memory, too, is profoundly affected. And this next point, I think, will resonate deeply with many listeners. It tackles something we often feel but might not, articulate.
It's very true. Our sources introduced Jim Kaywick, who's a prominent expert in memory improvement. And he makes several important observations on how smartphones are, well, potentially making people dumber when it comes to memory retention. He points out the simple act of memorizing phone numbers.
Yeah, I remember having to do that.
Right. It was once an essential basic life skill, but now almost obsolete thanks to our devices. In the past, people would write numbers in a directory or just commit them to memory, and they remembered them pretty well. But what's truly insightful here is the mechanism involved. It's not just that we forget things easily now. Our sources suggest that by constantly outsourcing these basic memory tasks to our phones, we're actually kind of atrophying the very neural pathways the brain uses for retention.
Atrophying, like a muscle we don't use.
Precisely. It makes it harder to remember even crucial details later on.
That's a really powerful point about atrophy. Do the sources give us any, data to back up this idea of digital amnesia?
They absolutely do. The cybersecurity company Kaspersky Lab, they did a survey, 6,000 mobile phone users, and the results are quite telling. Around 71% of them couldn't remember their children's phone numbers.
Only 1%?
Yeah, and a staggering 87% couldn't recall their children's schools.
Oh my goodness.
Some respondents even admitted that losing their smartphone would cause them to forget what they'd even been up to.
Wow.
This phenomenon has actually been coined digital amnesia. And medical practitioners now advise us that excessive smartphone usage, it's known to cause disrupted sleep, cognitive dysfunction, and, yes, an inability to remember things. The brain, after all, it's meant to be challenged, right, to retain information. By consistently offloading this stuff to our devices, we truly might be compromising the very powers of our brain.
It really makes you think. So beyond this cognitive decline, our sources dive deep into the very real cost of, unhealthy addiction to technology, impacting us physically and mentally. It's a crucial area, and I think we sometimes forget just how much our bodies are adapting or maybe struggling to adapt to these new demands.
Indeed. And, while some older concerns, like about mobile phone radiation, have been largely put to rest by current research, it shows 2G to 5G waves fall into the non-ionizing range, which is too low to damage DNA. But our sources direct us to more immediate, tangible physical issues, things that are less speculative and more direct consequences of our habits.
Okay, it's certainly reassuring to hear the science on radiation, but given how much anxiety there was around it, what does that tell us about our tendency to maybe focus on one potential danger while overlooking others, which our sources then address? Because we all kind of know about tech snack and eye strain, right? But the sources warn these seemingly minor things can actually be precursors to more severe long-term physical issues.
That's an excellent point. It really highlights our potential blind spots. And speaking of those tangible issues, the sources identified text neck syndrome just from constantly looking down. It strains muscles, can lead to chronic pain. For prolific texters, there's even thumb pain, where your thumb can actually get stuck in a bent position.
Ouch.
Yeah. And blue light from mobiles is also a concern. Its shorter wavelength can tire eyes, cause pain, and, prolonged exposure might even lead to retinal damage over time.
So real physical consequences.
Definitely. But the psychological and emotional impacts, they're even more extensive. There's research by Yehuda Wax and Aviv M. Weinstein. Your paper title says a lot. Excessive smartphone use is associated with health problems in adolescents and young adults.
Yeah.
And it reveals this troubling kind of domino effect. What's truly striking isn't just the individual issues, but the comorbidity, meaning these problems often don't happen in isolation.
Okay, so they cluster together.
Exactly. Our sources reveal a troubling link where excessive phone use can be strongly associated with increased anxiety and depression. And astonishingly, it can even exacerbate conditions like obsessive-compulsive disorder, ADHD, or alcohol use disorder.
Wow.
It's a complex web, really interconnected impacts that touch on our emotional well-being, our behavioral control, even potentially our brain's structure changes in gray matter volume were mentioned.
Wow, that's a lot more interconnected than many of us probably realize. It really sounds like digital addiction isn't just about spending too much time online, is it? It feels like a deeper, more pervasive issue, almost like a traditional addiction.
Precisely. The Lamron article vividly describes what it calls the dopamine loop. Engaging with social media apps, other platforms, it releases that feel-good chemical
And
dopamine.
the little reward hit.
Exactly. And as we continue to scroll, we fall into this loop, continuously chasing that high until we feel satisfied. The sad part, as the author confesses, is that we may not even be conscious that we're engaging in this cycle. It often isolates us, too, by limiting face-to-face interactions. The author of that piece even admits to falling victim to this loop, avoiding work or self-care because of just endless scrolling. It's almost like our phones have become these external hard drives for our daily lives, hasn't it? What happens when we unplug that drive?
It really makes you rethink that casual scroll, doesn't it? Okay, so beyond our individual minds and bodies, our sources paint this compelling picture of how technology is reshaping our very ability to create. And perhaps most profoundly, our capacity for genuine connection. So what are we losing when we shift away from, say, physical creation?
Well, the sources point out that while we've become excellent typists, which remember was once a dedicated profession,
Sure.
we've actually lost the enormous benefits of writing with a pen and paper. Neurobiologist Barry Gordon, he listed several benefits. You develop organizational skills from crafting and sequencing thoughts. You boost reasoning and problem solving. You integrate a wide range of vocabulary. When you write by hand, your conceptual understanding improves. It's a slower process, right? It forces you to automatically process what you're writing.
Makes sense.
It engages many parts of your brain simultaneously, thanks to neuroplasticity. That's the brain's incredible ability to reorganize itself and form new connections throughout life. And this enhances both focus and productivity. It's a powerful argument to maybe consider using pen and paper sometimes for learning new skills, even in the age of ChatGPT, discerning where AI is truly necessary versus where it might be hindering your mental growth.
That's a fascinating insight. I know I've always felt a different kind of engagement when writing by hand, definitely. And on the topic of connection, despite having what feels like thousands of connections online, our sources suggest we're becoming deeply disconnected in real life. One of the articles recalls that imagery of the 1980s community phone, where neighbors would gather to use a shared phone, fostering this wonderful sense of camaraderie and shared experience.
Yeah, and this raises an important question for us. How have we gone from that kind of community spirit to a stage where, as one source notes, everyone in a household is often just in their own personal world, glued to a screen? The writer, Mokokomo Mokinawana, is quoted saying something quite profound. People who smiled when they were alone were called insane until we invented smartphones and social media.
That's quite a line.
Isn't it? It highlights how distraction impacts both our personal and professional lives. It leads to this feeling of being caught in a trap, ultimately losing control over one's own narrative. Being physically present isn't enough if you're not truly engaged.
Absolutely. So it's clear from our deep dive that technology offers these incredible gifts, convenience, access to information. And our sources aren't saying technology is the root of all evil, not at all. Instead, they're really asking us to make conscious, deliberate choices about how we interact with it.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is precisely that call for balance. The goal isn't to abandon technology altogether. That's probably unrealistic anyway. But it's about using it ethically and responsibly, prioritizing our wellness, emotional, mental, physical, educational, all of it. It's about ensuring we maintain control rather than being controlled by the technology.
So what can you, the listener, do? Our sources offer some actionable advice that might surprise you with its simplicity, actually. Strategies like just putting your phone on Do Not Disturb mode more often, turning off notifications completely maybe, or even just deliberately leaving your phone at home for a day and engaging in other healthier activities. That can make a real difference.
Yeah.
These might seem like small steps, but they have the ability to make a real impact over time, build better habits.
Ultimately, the information, the connections, the entertainment that technology provides, it's vast. Perhaps even more than we humans can truly take in and process effectively.
Yeah.
Our human intelligence, it needs to not just be conserved in this digital age, but to actively grow and evolve. The choice, as our sources constantly remind us, is always ours. And we must choose wisely to ensure we harness technology for our benefit rather than letting it diminish our innate human capabilities.
So, we've seen today how the incredible convenience and, let's face it, the ubiquitous nature of our digital world comes with significant potential trade offs. For our concentration, our memory, our physical health, and even our genuine connections, the sources make a really compelling case for reevaluating our relationship with technology, considering its subtle yet profound impact on who we are.
And this raises, I think, an important final question for you, our listener. If our human capabilities are indeed shifting in this digital age, what responsibilities do we have? Responsibilities to intentionally cultivate the skills, the habits, the connections that truly make us uniquely human and intelligent.
It's definitely a thought to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of human intelligence and technology. We encourage you to reflect on your own tech habits and maybe consider how you can empower your human intelligence in this ever evolving digital landscape.